Hello. What powers does the president have? Is he imperial or non-imperial? Stay tuned to find out here on President Obama Revealed.
We pledge to work alongside you to make your farms flourish and let clean water flow, to nourish starved bodies and feed hungry minds. Those nations like ours that enjoy relative plenty, we say we can no longer afford indifference to the suffering outside our borders, nor can we consume the world's resources without regard to effect. For the world has changed, and we must change with it.
The president holds many roles of power, one being the commander-in-chief. As commander-in-chief, he is the formal leader of the United States Army and Navy, the biggest in the world, outspending all other superpowers combined. He also appoints the Secretary of Defense, head of CIA, Homeland Security, and Joint Chiefs. As Commander-in-Chief, the President can send troops into battle without a formal declaration of war from Congress, and has final authority over military operations. Informally, the President has influence on his commanders and can guide them to do what he wants them to do. Checks on his power as Commander-in-Chief include, informally, public opinion, and formally, the War Powers Act. The War Powers Act states that the President must notify Congress of military action he has taken within 48 hours, and a declaration of war must be agreed upon by Congress after 60 days. Obama has disregarded this in military action he has taken on Libya. From an LA Times article, American planes are taking off. They are entering Libyan airspace. They are finding their targets. They are dropping bombs, and the bombs are killing and injuring people and destroying things. One can see this as good war or a bad war, but surely it is a war. However, the President has not retrieved the congressional approval required by the War Powers Act. His administration claims that this situation does not fall under the War Powers Act because U.S. operations do not involve sustained fighting or active exchanges of fire with hostile forces, nor do they involve U.S. ground troops. Many presidents have disregarded this act, and it has continued for a few reasons.
Is my next question. I mean, Congress, you have a few members. You have 6 Republican senators that sent a letter to Obama saying you're breaking the law. We have a few other outspoken members of Congress, but you have really no push from congressional leadership to enforce this?
Well, this has been occurring since 1950 when Harry Truman was the first president to run a large undeclared war, and so people have sort of gotten used to it. That's one problem. The second problem is if you're a congressman or woman, you don't want to be tagged with responsibility for the success or failure of this. If this
is that what this is about,
yes,
abdicating responsibility?
Yes, yes.
Another role is chief legislator. During President Obama's first term in office, 40 major bills were passed, including the Patient Protection and Affordable Care Act, or Obamacare. The act is an attempt to increase the number of insured Americans and reduce the cost of health care. It represents the President's formal ability to propose legislation. President Obama could not introduce the bill to Congress, but he can propose the idea. The President signs bills into law, which is a formal power allotted to him, but he can also use it informally to hold a signing ceremony. The ceremony is a photo op to help boost popularity for the President and those who helped him pass the bill. When the President signs a bill into law, he can informally write a signing statement. The statement is a written document by the President that explains his view of what the bill is for and what it will accomplish. President Obama wrote a signing statement when he passed the American Recovery and Reinvestment Act, or the stimulus package, in 2009. It highlighted his view for American recovery. During his first term, Obama utilized his presidential veto only twice. Once with the House Joint Resolution 64, which would continue appropriations for the defense budget, and again with the Interstate Recognition of Notarizations Act of 2010. Not only did Obama veto the Notarizations Act, he threatened he would veto it if it came to his desk. The threat of a veto is one of the President's informal powers. Congress can override a presidential veto by achieving a 2/3 majority in the House and Senate to pass the bill, which has only been accomplished by Congress 110 times. The President is required from time to time to inform Congress of his plans and the general well-being of the nation. This speech is known as a State of the Union address, and initially it did not need to be a speech. It has become a major event for presidents who generally give an address annually. The requirement for an address in the Constitution makes it a formal power, but modern presidents have been able to stretch its usefulness by allowing major news networks to televise a speech. There are many checks and impediments on the president as chief legislator. President Obama dealt with a severely divided and gridlocked Congress. The partisan politics limited Obama's effectiveness. The president also had a small window to accomplish what he wants. A president's popularity usually drops after his first year in office, and Obama is no exception. In 2008, after he was elected, but before he took office, his approval rating was at 79%, and now it is hovering around 53%. The president must also set aside time to run for re-election, which is something Obama had to deal with.
In addition to shaping both domestic climate and policy, the president is also responsible for foreign relations. As chief diplomat, the president is able to negotiate treaties and nominate diplomats. Though not specifically mentioned in the Constitution, the president is also able to make executive agreements with foreign leaders, facilitate diplomatic pressures through coalitions, and maintain alliances. For example, the president made a deal with Hamid Karzai, the president of Afghanistan, to withdraw troops by a certain date.
Today I signed a historic agreement between the United States and Afghanistan that defines a new kind of relationship between our countries, a future in which Afghans are responsible for the security of their nation, and we build an equal partnership between two sovereign states.
By doing so, he exercised an implicit power. In another instance, the president precipitated sanctions against North Korea in order to force a non-proliferation agreement.
We are committed to peace, and we are prepared to take steps to improve relations, which is why we have offered nutritional aid to North Korean mothers and children. But by now it should be clear, your provocations and pursuit of nuclear weapons have not achieved the security you seek. They have undermined it. Instead of the dignity you desire, you are more isolated. Instead of earning the respect of the world, you've been met with strong sanctions and condemnation. You can continue down the road you are on, but we know where that leads. It leads to more of the same. More broken dreams, more isolation, ever more distance between the people of North Korea and the dignity and the opportunity that they deserve. And know this, there will be no rewards for provocations. Those days are over. But to the leaders of Pyongyang, I say, this is the choice before you. This is the decision that you must make. Today we say, Pyongyang, have the courage to pursue peace and give a better life to the people of North Korea.
The president was attempting to sign a treaty, a formal power. However, he ultimately used an informal power, namely the United States' immense amount of both monetary and physical capital to influence a nation. Through the use of both formal and informal powers, the president is able to greatly affect foreign policy.
Welcome to our roundtable discussion on whether Barack Obama is an imperial president or not an imperial president. I have with me Mr. Castine and Mr. Wasson. Let's get started. Mr. Wasson, what is your argument?
It is my opinion that Barack Obama is not an imperial president because the checks on his power as chief legislator outweigh his powers. For example, the divided Republican government was a severe check on the legislation that Obama wanted to pass through. They challenged most of his bills and made it very difficult for him.
That's interesting, Mr. Wasson. I will have to disagree with you. I think he is rather imperial, citing his disregard for the War Powers Act in his military actions in Libya. He is doing whatever he wants without congressional approval for a war, and I believe that is very imperial of him. So far we have a not imperial opinion and an imperial opinion. Mr. Cassin, you care to contribute?
Yes, Mr. Kotler, I agree wholeheartedly. President Obama is indeed imperial, especially in terms of foreign policy. For example, his use of unmanned aerial vehicles to kill anyone deemed a terrorist or an enemy of state is extremely imperial. He does not require the approval of Congress to carry out such an act, and by doing so, he acts alone and has the ability to enforce his will across the globe.
Okay, well that is a 2-to-1 vote for President Obama being an imperial president. And thank you for joining us here on President Obama Revealed. We'll see you next time.